As you know, mass transit is just one crisis facing Illinois. There's also school funding and the public pension debt. And we've just come off a summer of stalemate over the state budget. A recent poll found that more than half of those questioned disapprove of the job Rod Blagojevich is doing as governor. An editorial in the Chicago Tribune called him the governor who cannot govern. Critics say his inaccessibility, his poor skills at building relationships, and his lack of interest in details have made him an ineffective leader. Tonight, political editor Mike Flannery exposes Blagojevich. He rejoins us live from the state capitol in Springfield. Mike?
Well, Rob, I've never done a story quite like this one before in 3 decades of covering state government here in Illinois. Of course, I've also never encountered a governor before whose personal management style has become such a central issue in terms of getting things done. Now, we would like you to be the judge, but rest assured that there are many, many people down here in the state capitol and in political circles all across Illinois who've been discussing and debating this issue for a long time. The fact is that includes some who work for a governor who was re-elected just barely 1 year ago.
I, Rod R. Blagojevich.
During the campaign, Rod Blagojevich never mentioned that right after Election Day, he would propose the largest tax increase and the largest expansion of government in state history. That political surprise made it easy last spring for the Illinois House to reject his tax proposal unanimously.
There are none voting yes, 107 voting no, and 7 voting present, and the resolution fails.
Blagojevich blames many of his problems on the wily and stubborn House Speaker Mike Madigan. The governor's staff says he has a good relationship with Senate President Emil Jones and has worked closely with the 2 top Republican leaders. According to his own records, in the last 4 months, Blagojevich made an average of 1 public appearance every 5 days. By our count, he only took questions from reporters, though, 2 or 3 times a month. The governor does make unannounced appearances like this one, but his office would not reveal how often. By comparison, Mayor Daley typically faces reporters 3 or 4 times a week. Senator Dick Durbin almost every day. The governor's staff told us he's often in the state capitol. Others call that laughable. Those sources say the governor is not often seen in Springfield and that he's often absent from his Thompson Center office.
So when he's not there, where is he working? Mostly here at his house on Chicago's northwest side. Insiders tell us the governor often gets up before dawn making conference calls from a small office inside, and that he sometimes uses a political campaign office just a few blocks from here.
Morning, sir. How are you? How are you? Pretty good. State police.
With the knowledge of his state police bodyguard detail, CBS 2 News watched for several days over 3 weeks, repeatedly finding the governor at home during normal business hours, with no one other than family coming and going. It's 11 a.m. on a sunny Wednesday. Mass transit doomsday is just 4 days away. Dressed casually, the governor appears to be working from home as the crisis builds. Being at home, he gets to see his daughters. His staff says he works wherever he is at all hours of the day. Key political players, from Senator Barack Obama to his own lieutenant governor, though, say they rarely see or hear from Blagojevich.
When's the last time you talked to the governor?
I don't know, a couple months ago maybe.
Well, you haven't talked to the governor for a couple months.
I tried, you know.
A source told us the governor did not hold even one full cabinet meeting during his first 4 years in office. Insiders tell us that Blagojevich prefers to focus on the big picture, leaving details to his deputies. Among them, Chief of Staff John Harris, Deputy Governor Sheila Nix, and political strategist Doug Schofield. Other confidants include lobbyist John Wyma and Alonzo Monk, a sometime jogging companion he first met in college who formerly served as his chief of staff. Critics claim that not being hands-on has sometimes tripped up the governor, poisoning relations with some lawmakers.
My understanding with him that he will spend money in the Springfield area, my district, the Sangamon, Logan, or Menard area, only to have him change his mind and spend it someplace else.
In 2003, State Senator Larry Bomke got a promise in writing from the governor's chief of staff. He crossed party lines to vote for a bill backed by Blagojevich. Bomke says the governor failed to deliver and then refused to talk to him. Today, many legislators demand that any promises be put on paper, a development one eminent historian of Illinois governors finds shocking.
Those memorandums were unprecedented when a governor had to put in writing that he would keep his word.
A veteran columnist for Springfield State Journal-Registered newspaper said the governor's lack of credibility is one reason negotiations now move slowly in the capital, if at all.
His word is not trusted, and that is one thing that holds up the legislative process, frustrates everyone.
In such a toxic environment, even little things can suddenly blow up. The governor said he would stay here in Springfield during the seemingly endless special sessions he's called this year. Lawmakers at the Capitol one day were infuriated when they heard from eyewitnesses back home in Chicago that the governor was there jogging.
Sooner or later, that sort of thing catches up with you, and it has caught up with Governor Blagojevich this year when, we've had gridlock, and he has been stonewalled in his major legislative requests.
Despite his problems with the General Assembly and his current low ratings in public opinion surveys, sources say he wants to run again in 2010. They say he could win a third term by raising even more than the $27 million he spent last time and by campaigning on his taxpayer-subsidized health care proposals. He's sidestepping the General Assembly to expand the program on his own to 147,000 more Illinoisans and will worry about how to pay for it later.
But I'm going to continue to do what I think is right, and that's one of the good things about being governor.
The governor declined our invitation to do an interview about this story, but a staff member did send this statement. Quote, "No amount of sleazy journalism can distort the fact that Governor Blagojevich works hard for the people of Illinois, whether he is at the governor's mansion in Springfield or Hayes House in DuQuoin, in meetings at the Thompson Center or the State House, working from his home office, or juggling his responsibilities as governor with those of being a father. The governor is in contact with his staff and other leaders around the clock, dealing with the issues that impact people from all over Illinois. He can and does conduct business from wherever he is." Where the governor actually happened to be this evening while that big debate was taking place on the floor of the Illinois House was at the Blackhawks hockey game back in Chicago. He was there with some friends, and we got to see the governor enjoying that game. Of course, at the very moment that he was there watching that hockey game, this right behind us in the state capitol, on the floor of the Illinois House, was that bill that he said was going to advance the cause of the transit funding and end the transit funding crisis. House Speaker Mike Madigan held a news conference after the vote to complain that by his lights, Madigan claimed, the governor had only put 2 votes on that bill, and he said it would have made everybody feel better, at least, if the governor had been here while that important debate was taking place. Reporting live from the state capitol, Mike Flannery, CBS 2 News.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Well, what do you think, viewers? How would you rate Governor Blagojevich when it comes to job performance? Go to our website at cbs2chicago.com. The survey is halfway down the homepage. You can also email comments on the report you just saw by Mike Flannery at tips@cbs2chicago.com. Your feedback is important to us.